Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a pretty radical idea. What if AI wasn't just some tool you use, but an infrastructure you actually own? We're going to break down how you can build AI into the very foundation of your life, your work, and your biggest goals.
This quote really gets right to the heart of it. The future isn't just about using other people's systems. It's about owning the two things that pretty much define our success. Our capital, our money and resources, and our intelligence, which is all about our focus and our ability to get things done.
So you can see this transformation happening on two kind of parallel tracks. First, how we manage our money, what we can call our capital stack. And second, how we manage our focus, our ideas and our execution, our intelligence stack. It's all about going from renting these systems to actually owning them.
For decades, right, the default has always been to just operate inside systems owned by these huge centralized institutions. Think about it. We use their banks for our capital, and we use their platforms for our digital lives. We've been renting the very infrastructure that runs our world.
And this shows a really interesting parallel that most people miss. On the left, traditional banking locks up your capital. On the right, mainstream AI often does the same thing but with your intelligence, locking it up in somebody else's cloud. Both offer convenience, sure, but it comes at a price. You trade control for ease. You're basically a customer in their world, playing by their rules.
So the crucial point is this. In the centralized model, you're just accepting their rules, their hours, and their product limitations. This isn't true ownership. The source material calls it custodial convenience, and honestly, that's the perfect way to put it.
Okay, so where did this new model of ownership first really prove itself? Well, it was in finance, with something you've probably heard of, DeFi, or decentralized finance. DeFi basically showed us what was possible. It gave us a proof of concept for turning a totally passive asset, like your money just sitting in a bank, into an active, programmable part of a system that you get to control. And this leads us to this idea of self-banking. And you got to get this. It's not just about earning a bit more interest. It's about a fundamental shift in your role. You go from being a passive customer, a depositor, to being an active operator of your own financial world.
This quote explains the difference perfectly. Traditional banks, they sell you a finished product, right? It's like getting a pre-made meal from a restaurant. DeFi, on the other hand, gives you the raw ingredients, the primitives, so you can be the chef. You get to design and build your own financial system from the ground up.
All right, so hold on to that idea, because that exact same powerful shift from a passive product to programmable infrastructure is happening right now with artificial intelligence. And this is where it gets really, really exciting. So we have to ask ourselves this question. What if AI wasn't just some chatbot you go visit on a website? What if it was an actual infrastructure that you own and control? It's really time to move beyond thinking of AI as a toy or a novelty. It's a personal asset, a collective asset that should be serving our goals directly. Okay, so how do we actually make this happen? Let's walk through the three-stage roadmap for building your own AI infrastructure. We're going to start with your personal life, then move to your work, and finally get to your long-term mission. So first up, your personal life. Just imagine having an AI layer that automates all that tedious stuff, organization, planning, all that life admin that just drains your energy. We're talking about an AI that drafts your emails, helps plan out your weekly meals, summarizes those articles you've been meaning to read, and even keeps your budget on track. See, this isn't a gimmick. It's about cutting down your cognitive load so you get back the two things you can never buy more of: time and focus. Next, let's talk about work. This is where AI as infrastructure becomes a massive force multiplier for your output. And it's not just about asking it questions. We're talking about it handling the structured, repetitive work. Things like taking your messy meeting notes and turning them into a polished project summary, or creating internal documents from just a simple brief. It literally multiplies what you can do by taking over those systematic tasks. And finally, this is the biggest piece of the puzzle. This is the most transformative part. When you align AI with your long-term mission, whether that's your business, your community project, your life's purpose, it becomes a continuity layer. Think about that. It preserves your best ideas over time, it coordinates really complex workflows, and it keeps the momentum going on the projects that truly matter to you, not just for a week, but for years.
And that's really the end game, isn't it? You're building an operational layer for your entire life and work. It's a system that makes sure your most important goals are always moving forward, systematically. It pulls you out of that constant reactive firefighting mode and into a state of deliberate, organized execution.
All right, so let's bring it all together. Everything we've talked about, for both your money and your intelligence, it all boils down to one fundamental choice. And it's a choice that all of us have to make right now.
And this slide just lays out the two paths so perfectly. On one side, you have the centralized world, rented intelligence, static products. On the other side, you have the decentralized world, owned infrastructure, and these programmable building blocks. It is literally the difference between being a customer in someone else's store and being the architect of your own.
And we have to be honest here, there is a trade-off. To get all this amazing agency and control over your own systems, you do have to accept more responsibility for operating them. The source material is super clear about this. It is not a free lunch. You are trading convenience and dependence for sovereignty and responsibility, and that comes with a whole new level of ownership.
So the final takeaway really is a challenge. For all of us, the next big step isn't about chasing down the next shiny AI app. It's about starting the real work of becoming an architect of your own intelligence system. It's about weaving AI into the very fabric of how you live, how you work, and how you execute, day in and day out.